Live from the Metal Mayhem Studios in Rochester, New York.
We are gold.
And heard around the world by metalheads just like you. This is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Heavy metal music.
Your weekly dose of metal music, interviews, album reviews, news, and more. Want to be part of the show? Send us a message through our website, metalmayhemroc.com, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Search Metal Mayhem ROC.
It's getting nice and heavy.
Now, welcome our hosts, Jon The Vernomatic Verno and Metal Forever Mark.
Good evening, everybody. I'm the Vernomatic, and welcome to this week's show. As always, Thursday nights, new content drops. Visit metalmayhemroc.com. There you'll find direct links to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, however you get your podcasting content. While you're there, go into the drop-down box, download some past episodes, subscribe to the podcast. That kind of stuff helps the bottom line. Sign up to our email list, receive weekly updates on new shows, merchandise, and promos and free giveaways. Now, this is real important because things are getting serious now. Tonight, we're giving away 2 copies of our feature interview. The band Motorlord, their debut album, kick-ass band out of Central New York. I will have the lead guitarist and one of the founding members, Ian O'Rourke, on the show in a little bit. But we're giving away a couple of the CDs. I have some shirts. So sign up for the weekly email list. We'll pull someone during the week and notify you via email. In mid-July, the Metal Mayhem ROC merchandise page will be debuting. It's your chance to get some Metal Mayhem gear. You know, the hoodies, shirts, hats, whatever. So we got a lot of exciting things happening up here. As always, thank you for the support. So let's welcome my metal brother from another mother, Metal Forever Mark.
Hey, Vernomatic, what's going on? Always great to be up here in the Metal Mayhem ROC studios in the co-captain's chair.
So we're about to get into a show staple segment called the Mount Rushmore of Metal.
Many have tried, most have failed, only a few survived. This is the Mount Rushmore of Metal.
All right, the Mount Rushmore of Metal. This one is a tough one, in my view, because there are so many to choose from in this category, which is heavy metal album covers or CD covers in the current era, or digital covers now.
Album covers.
All right, album covers. You go first.
Me go first.
Yeah, you go. Oh, you want to do 2? Let's do 2, 2, 2, 2. Just
all right,
we'll change it up. Wow. Okay, so just the one for me, and I've got to go with one of my Mount Rushmore bands. I just have always loved it, is Defenders of the Faith. I just remember when it came out, it was right after Screaming for Vengeance, which is another iconic cover. But it just, I don't know, just in the same vein. It was cool, like from the Hellion to the Metallion. I love Defenders of the Faith from the minute I put that album on. So that's the first one that I'm going to go with, and it comes to mind. Number 2... Wow, it's just tough because like you're just trying to go through the catalog, right, and think of all the heavy metal ones. I guess in a way, just straight metal and old school, and it's Rochester, New York. I'm gonna go Kill 'Em All, man. Like it was almost one of those metal covers that like was almost too intimidating because it was just an axe with a pool of blood, and it doesn't get much more metal than that. So those are the first 2 I'm gonna throw at you. Ooh, well, the metal mayhem alarm has gone out.
At the sound of the demon bell.
That'll never go away.
Actually, it's a mallet on the cover of...
A mallet, I stand corrected.
Yeah, and here's a fun fact. That was shot in a studio in Village Gate.
I think we heard that story when we did the deep dive into these Metallica Kill 'Em All recordings. By the way, for you, Hellion, Screaming for Vengeance, or Defenders? If you had Fire or Ice, if you had to choose either or.
Screaming.
Okay.
Okay, so my top 2, or my first 2. Well, going.
It's hard, man, because.
Okay, well, here I'm gonna pull an audible right off the bat. It's not album cover. It's gatefold.
Gatefold?
When you open the album up.
Ah, okay.
And number 4.
I think I know where you're going with it. But go ahead.
Is when you open up Kiss Alive 2.
Oh, okay.
And when you open up Kiss Alive 2, in that You know the picture I'm talking about?
Yes.
The stage and the flames and all that. All I could remember as a kid was sitting there and just staring at it. And, you know, it was mesmerizing me. So, Gatefold, Kiss Alive 2. Number 3, I'll go Master of Puppets. Just for the imagery of the hands up in the corner, holding the strings of the puppeteer from Master. And you see the symbolism of all the songs in the album, you know, the dog tags of the Disposable Hero guy from the song Disposable Heroes. And it's just the imagery of Master of Puppets. So that was my 3rd.
Okay. So actually, where you were going with the other one, when you talk about when you open up the album cover, the other one I thought you were going with was Power Slave, because I remember when you open up that one, man, talk about imagery. There's so much shit going on in that one. Same thing with the Somewhere in Time one. Like if you look at all the streets and all that craziness, but I'm not going to go there. I guess the third one that I'm going to mention is Halloween Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. Only because I just love that album. I remember when my brother handed it to me, and I was just like, man, I don't know if I like these guys. They're a little happy metal maybe, and it's just the songs are like too long and too short and all over the yard. But then the more I dug into that album, the more to me, that's a Just Push Play front to back. Mm-hmm. And that album cover just kind of screamed heavy metal like when I saw it. Then my last one is, and I got to throw in with a chick in it because it's not heavy metal without the chick. I'm going to go with Invasion of Your Privacy from Rat, just because the girl, she's bending over, she's putting her socks on. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So you could say it's not very metal, but you got to throw at least one of them in there.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that.
And by the way, before I hear the last two, I got to throw another one that just creeped the hell out of me, and it still creeps me out to this day. I actually had it on the front pile of a whole bunch of vinyl that I had the other day. Black Sabbath, Born Again, and it creeped me out so much I had to tuck it I put it 5 albums under because it was just that Baby Devil it just creeped me out then, and it creeps me out now. Although I think it's a good album, but
well, it is a little scary.
Yeah.
My top 2.
It's hard, man.
Yeah. I know what my number 1 is. Can I go straight to number 1?
Hey, there's no rules in the Mount Rushmore.
My number 1 all time is Number of the Beast.
Of course, right?
But, it's hard. But you're right with the Somewhere in Time. First of all, the Maidens are wild. But even to this day, you know what the fun thing with the Iron Maidens back in the day was to find the little Derek Riggs.
Yeah.
The emblem, his, what is his trademark of, the circle with the arrow going down.
Yeah. I think I learned about that like around Power Slave maybe, or I remember like somebody tells you about that. You're like, oh yeah, cool dude. And then you start looking for it and yeah, But I just remember staring at Number of the Beast. And Mark, on a serious note, that's what gets lost now with, CDs. They still try to do it, but it's just not the same connection you have with something. We've all talked about this. There's been discussions, but it's true. The connection to a release isn't there, and we reiterate this. We go back and forth that's what we're look at this 40 years later, and you're still sporting a Woody over the Invasion of Your Privacy girl. Well, but that's the thing I was going to ask you is like, and again, in the digital era, how much is the imagery of an album important, and how much does that actually lend to the music? Because I agree that in a weird way, it kind of goes together, kind of like And Justice for All, the album art imagery, kind of synonymous with that album.
Yeah,
and it kind of reinforces the whole thing, like Peace of Mind, any of the those classic. But then when you just see like I don't know, like you said, just get something that's just kind of standard and kind of boring, or there's nothing special about it. It does add to the color of it.
Now you had Defenders of the Faith in your list,
right?
Well, back in '84 when Defenders of the Faith came out, it was accompanied on tour with
right.
the stage setup, which transcended into the merchandise, and now 40 years later, you have a visual connection to Defenders of the Faith. And to answer your question, it does. It does have a connection, and the whole thing sells. It's the whole connection.
And speaking of that, I don't know if you remember when Priest did that long, it was almost going to be like their farewell tour when they first got Richie after KK departed. And I don't know if you remember, they had it was almost like a long 2-hour set. Mm-hmm. And they'd try to play a song from every album. So they would break out Stained Class album cover for a Stained Class track. They did the same thing with Point of Entry for like Desert Plains, and like that imagery just took you back, not only musically but visually into that era, and in some ways that's probably missing a little bit maybe. Now some bands like Five Finger Death Punch, Avenged Sevenfold, maybe to a degree. Look, Megadeth has their kind of version of Eddie, whatever the hell that. I don't know what that dude's called.
Rattlehead Vic.
Dude. Kind of adds to it, I think. But to me, that's part of the metal. Part of the metal genre is kind of that album cover imagery. Mm-hmm. I think so. You got one more to go.
I don't want to. One more to go. Yeah. You know what? It's not metal, but it's sick. Molly Hatch at the cover of "Flirting with Disaster."
Okay. I'm not as familiar with that specific one, but I think I generally know the Molly
The dude
Hatch.
on the horse?
Yeah, no, I know the imagery.
No, actually, Flirt with Disaster is the muscle guy with the, it was the imagery. It's the whole thing. So.
Yeah, I think it's important. So I think to the young metal bands out there, as much as you can think about your imagery and the album art, to me, it adds color to the songs and to the music, I think. And maybe it's missing a little bit this day and age.
So that's Mount Rushmore of Metal top album covers. Mark, as always, thanks for stopping in, and we'll talk to you soon, right?
Yep. Always keeping it heavy up here in the Metal Mayhem ROC studios, Vernomatic. Thanks for having me once again.
All right. That's Metal Forever Mark. Always cool when he can get away from the family and kids and come up to the Metal Cave and spend a few hours with the Vernomatic. So like I said, our feature interview tonight is Ian O'Rourke from Motorlord. Here's a song from their debut album. This is called Mickey. I'm the Vernomatic. You're listening to Metal Mayhem ROC.
Get that popcorn ready and grab a seat.
Do it!
As the Vernomatic presents this week's feature interview, exclusively here on Metal Mayhem ROC.
So back in May when we were celebrating Metal May, I introduced the new wave of traditional heavy metal that's going on. Bands like Night Demon and, Cirith Ungol, even though they're an older band. Some of these bands that they're newer bands, but they're taking their direction from the older new wave of British heavy metal bands. Well, tonight I had a chance to catch up with Ian O'Rourke from the band Motorlord. Hey, Ian, welcome to Metal Mayhem. How you doing, buddy?
Vernomatic, how you doing, brother?
We're doing well, man. We're just doing what we do, and there's nothing I love more than finding a new band that captures the spirit of what metal, my eyes, what metal's all about. I really like what Motorlord's doing, so I wanted to get you on here. Have you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, the band, and what's going on in the Motorlord world?
Well, we are, as it classifies in our description through our social media sites, we are a hard rock and heavy metal band from Central New York. We, bunch of, guys of our age that, had been playing, in bands forever and a day. And we wanted to craft something that came from all of that stuff that got our, spidey senses tingling when we were younger. All of those classic bands, from Thin Lizzy and UFO up through Y&T, Van Halen, you name it. Even into, as you had said, getting into Judas Priest and Saxon and Motorhead and all of these great bands that came out of Europe and England. We just wanted to try to catch that vibe, but not necessarily like hit it right on the head. Let's not sound like we're exactly like these bands. Let's give our flavor and our touch of what our interpretation is from these bands. So we were able to come out with the album. We recorded it, and we were trying to get it out by December of 2019. But because of production, it just takes its time as it does. We finally were able to drop it the beginning of January of 2020. And the Corona monster went ahead and reared its ugly head and kind of threw the brakes on everything. So we're just trying to keep the name out there, trying to see if we can start gathering some gigs now that things are opening up for the world. Maybe we can get out there and play for the masses.
Yeah. Well, so you're in Central New York. Is there any plans? Have you been booking shows? What's going on behind the scenes?
Well, the biggest thing right now is trying to find what's open, because we are an original band. We don't do covers. I don't have any problem with it. There's a lot of great bands out there that play covers. It's just always been a personal opinion of mine. It's kind of shared that, we want to create our own music and get that out there for people. So sometimes it's a little tougher to get in on gigs. But we're linked up with a friend of ours years ago, Rick Masucci, who runs Bring 'Em Down Productions out of Utica. Does a great job with trying to get packages, 3-4 bands together that are all original music, and kind of gives a variety. So hopefully we can try to get something going in that arena in the area, and then see if we can try to branch out. Love to be able to try to get out your way in the Rochester area if we can. We played Albany probably about just under a half dozen times or so last year when we were in the process of working on the album's material. So we've been able to kind of spread all over, but there's nothing consistent. And then obviously, as I said, the world kind of went into, a cocoon. So hopefully now we can try to get something back going again.
Yeah, things are loosening up here. There's our friends over at the Grim Dystopian podcast here in Rochester, they put together a 3-band package that's playing in June, I believe. And, it's a small capacity, but they've sold out. So
yeah, well, people are hungry for it, man. I mean, they're really wanting to be out there. I mean, they're just talking about with the New York State Fair, even though they're going to have limited capacities, they're adding more bands every day, every week to play at Chevy Court to give free shows, because people are, already like, I want to do something. I want to see something. I need to get out and socialize, be with my people, kind of thing. So,
have you ever played Rochester? Have you ever been up here?
No. Ray, the other guitar player, had gone to school at CCFL in Canandaigua.
Yep.
So he had gone a couple times, I think, to maybe catch some shows when he, back the old days with, the Penny Arcade and stuff like that. They were there.
Oh, sure. Montage. We got Montage up here. Anthology.
A lot of great places. I mean, I've only been to Rochester as an adult once that I can recall. That doesn't mean that something didn't happen on some, drunken road trip that I'm not aware of. But
yeah. So the first, you have 9 tracks on the first album. If you were to tour or were to play out, are there songs that you would play that aren't on this 9-song release? Or
yeah, we actually have a collection, I think, of about total 24, including these, like 25 songs that we've kind of honed in on. We might even be just a tad bit more than that. We are trying to now, we wanted to do a collection of EPs, try to get them out there, maybe release a couple singles at a time off that kind of stuff, so there's in the hopper right now, there are 12 other songs that are fine-tuned and ready to go. We just need to kind of, get the time to be able to get them recorded, but we've been trying to work on them. And obviously in between, we've had, people with battling illnesses, and you got, Mother's Day and birthdays and different things that come up. So it kind of throws, the practice schedule off whack a little bit, but, we get to it, once a week, regardless, if we, don't have a chance to get together because of something else, that's fine. But, everybody kind of does their own thing, and we kind of, it's kind of like the Justice League, all of the heroes go off and, fight their own adventures, and then they come and join as a group and, fight big adventures. So, so that's pretty much what we do.
That's interesting that you're talking about, sort of like 2 or 3 tier purposing. James Rivera of Hellstar was on the show, and he was talking about their new one, Clad in Black. That's exactly what they did. They released a couple singles, then they released the Clad in Black, and then at the end of the summer, there's going to be another part of that release. Like Mike Schleibaum of Darkest Hour, they have their new one, Live in Lockdown, and they sort of did the same kind of 2 or 3 tier release program.
I think that, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
I think that with bands of our like and from the generation that we came from, we like to have that physical manifestation, that full collection of material. The problem is, in this day and age, everybody's a playlist kind of person, or at least the younger generation. And then I don't even want to just bash on them, because it coalesces up to people in our generation too. I mean, my wife is guilty of it, and I've told her, listen, just listen to the album, but she's, one of those ones where she'll grab 2 or 3 songs from this artist and 2 or 3 songs from this artist, and that's what she wants to hear. So the right way to approach it is, okay, what's the middle of the road where we can maybe do both? So the collection of EPs kind of, the great band Down, that was their whole concept after their 3rd full-length album. The next 3 albums that they did were a collection of 6-song EPs.
Yeah.
And then, if they wanted to do a 4th, it's supposed to be an acoustic. Whether or not it'll ever come out, who knows? We can only make the sign of the cross and hope so. But with this, the whole album being released, like I said, in January of 2020, we've been getting some play on UK and European radio, mostly the online radios, but stuff that would be very similar to what you are doing, or even Metal Mark with, some of his programming. Mm-hmm. So, excuse me, when we're getting these moments where all of a sudden something now pops up, it's like, okay, let's try to keep the name out there somehow, keep, throw it up in the air again and see how many pieces fall, that kind of thing. So hopefully we can generate some kind of momentum underneath it, especially if we can get gigs going and get out there and see people. So that way, maybe pull more and more people to come to shows and make it, make it beneficial for everybody. You know what I mean? Because I don't have a problem if we play for 2 or 2,000, but the more the merrier.
And we're going to end the show. We're going to wrap this up, but we're going to end the show and we're going to play a Motorlord track. What song can we play for our listeners if they've never heard Motorlord that you would like to send them off with?
Well, you could never go wrong with the title track, Motorlord. You go ahead and play that. I mean, that is just a emulsification of our stylings, twin lead work, the power of our drummer, Don. It brings everything together and kind of gives that push. That's why we ended up putting that as the first song to open up the album.
And where could people find this? They
go to herenow.com // Motorlord. And it will pull up all of our, not only the links for Spotify, Pandora, Google Play, all that good stuff, but it also has all of our social media linking. So if they want to check out what's going on with the band, take a look at some stuff. Sometimes you can link through it. I'll have our YouTube link. We have old live footage that's on there. We actually had done our album. We did it in just a just a soundscape form where it's got the emblem of the album showing in the picture, but you can actually listen to all of the songs on the YouTube linking as well. So I mean, there's a bunch of stuff there, and we're hoping to keep adding as we go along.
And that's great. And we'll have all this on the Metal Mayhem ROC.com website under show notes for this particular episode. So we'll have all the links. Hey, Ian, thanks for spending some time with us tonight, and best of luck, my friend.
Hey, Vernomatic, thank you, brother. I appreciate the time, and thank you for the support.
All right, well, that being said, let's take a listen to Motorlord. I'm the Vernomatic. You've been listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Remember, Monday nights, the Metal Mayhem ROC live radio show on thatmetalstation.com. Right now, Motorlord, the title track. See you next week, folks.
Metal for life.
Thanks for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our websites at metalmayhemroc.com and metalforever.com for information on upcoming concerts, podcasts, archives, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. Catch us next time on WLFE DB Radio.